Can I replace eggs with egg powder? Is a question I ask myself in order to try to approximate the ideal to be able to have a meal as a powdered shake. So this is the shaker I use, and the question I ask myself is, what items can I get into a powdered form? Now, I have been using protein shakes mostly as kind of meal replacement shakes because it seems that my body, at least with my given training, seems to need quite a little bit of protein. If you don't cook an egg, then the bioavailability of the protein is lower, as well as there are certain risks involved. I think you might get infections if you, on the outside of the egg, might have bacteria, for example. Now, also, there is a certain cost associated to, first of all, cooking the eggs. So this would be the first thing I usually did. So there are basically two options in terms of how to eat eggs. The first option is to make basically eggs that are mashed or squashed, basically by throwing them into a pan and frying them. The second option is to cook the eggs, to boil the eggs, and then to keep them in the fridge. Now, I usually do 2 packs of eggs, maybe once a week. So these are 20 eggs and I boil them together, and then these last for around a week maybe in the fridge, and so I make the next batch. Now, the problem is also that once you then get the eggs out, you still need to peel them off. Sometimes you don't get the time right, and of course you also need to boil the eggs. Now, you might say, okay, how much of a time difference is this really? There is the story in Atomic Habits of the British cyclists team, I think, that was very bad, and then they took a look and took all the different things that made up their system of then eventually the outcome. They took it apart and improved all the tiny bits a little bit. And so I'm thinking about the day as of variable time and fixed time. You could also say variable cost and fixed cost. And so if I am able to save a second here, a second there, then if this thing is something that repeats every single day, or in terms of cooking the eggs every single week, then I am losing this for the rest of infinity. And basically, by saving a little bit of time here and there, I am freeing up more variable time in a given day, which until infinity, if I keep a system like this, allows me to then do more things basically, because I have more time in a given day. So this is what the powder looks like. It also smells actually quite good. It smells kind of like waffles. I already begin to wonder whether there is something in there, because it smells a little bit too sweet and good. So, oh my god. So my assessment of the smell might also be slightly biased, because I now haven't eaten that much, but I'm actually not that hungry. In terms of the price, these cost basically per egg exactly the same. Now, you might say that these weigh a lot more compared to this here, but the main thing about food you buy in the grocery store is often, with vegetables and something else, is that there is lots of water in there. The same is true for curd, for example, for dairy, and so on and so forth. So if you buy just the powder, you need to basically somewhat get the liquid back, because otherwise the density of the food might also be too high, at least due to but in my experience. I already have protein powder in 3 different kinds. I also have psyllium as a lever for fiber. I also have starch, which I would use as a carbohydrate lever if I need carbohydrates. So I now also have flaxseed powder and also greens in order to kind of replace my greens in a way. And then I take the daily recommended dose. Now, in order to titrate, you could say, the egg, I would now take a spoon out of it. Maybe there is also a recommendation on it. How much is 1 egg? No, there is none. So it's 100 gram, and these are the macros for 100 grams of eggs. 40 grams of fat, carbs 5 gram, and protein 44 grams. So it's basically fat and protein. Maybe it's similar to how actual eggs are, but of course they are more dense because there is less water in the powder. So let's take this here. So weird. Now, in terms of the protein availability of this here compared to normal eggs, I think you could compare it to raw eggs. I the process that was mentioned was that they were spray dried or something like this.